It's Monday night, and you know what that means. The Jersey First Television Network proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And certainly, I am the generational talent in Garden State journalism, folks, because now more than ever, my level of honesty is truly necessary because I'm the hero you need right now in New Jersey media. That's right. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Happy Monday to you all. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, especially a very happy Mother's Day weekend. I hope you got to enjoy it with all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day. Mothers, biological women, women with, a uterus, ovaries, biological human females, want to honor all those great mothers over the weekend, all those moms, right? And in our lives, of course, and a shout out to my mom and aunt, my bestie, my other good friends, all moms and all the moms out there that tune in every single week here on Jersey First TV. And of course, I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so right now on Facebook Live via StreamYard, also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as well as on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and all of our social media platforms. Speaking of which, folks, if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? It takes 5 seconds to like, comment, share, and most importantly, to subscribe to Real Talk here on Jersey First TV. Of course, make sure you like us on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and X. And of course, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Jersey First on YouTube. You'll see all of our great content there, front and center, on all of your notifications, of course. And whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take us with you during these nice warm days, whether you're walking your dog, doing some grocery shopping, maybe moving your kids back from campus as the spring semester is over at whichever college or university your kids are attending, or just maybe you're outside enjoying the fresh weather. Why not, folks? Again, take Jersey First TV with you anywhere at any time. And I cannot say enough what a privilege it is to be on the dream team of Garden State Media, folks. That's right. It's always Jersey First TV. Brand new episodes of the Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday, of course, hosted by my outstanding tag team partner, the amazing Elizabeth Nader. Brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe premiere every Monday. Check your local listings, of course, for start times. We appreciate you tuning in every single Monday night. Folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts. I have a lot to say over really what went on over the weekend and really what's going on in this debate season here, of course, and during this election cycle, especially at the gubernatorial level. And of course, folks, when it comes to dishonest journalism, it goes, you can always rely on Uncle David Cruz from NJ Spotlight News, who, again, I got to give him credit. I mean, working 3 times last week and even working tonight during the debate this evening. Of course, he'll have his other shows this week. So shout out to Uncle Dave, trabajando tanto, y ese milagro. But in any event, we'll talk about Uncle Dave's latest dishonest take when it comes to immigration. And we saw it front and center last week during the Republican gubernatorial debate on NJ Spotlight News. And of course, folks, when we talk about dishonest, let's be fair, ladies and gentlemen. No one exemplifies being dishonest more than Ravi Bala, the mayor of Hoboken. So I'll remind you all why he's an atrocious selection coming up on June 10th in the 32nd Legislative District. Whether it's raising property taxes, whether it's being a fake progressive, or have your pick. Folks, I'll let you know why Ravi Bala isn't someone you should be voting for in the upcoming primary in the state assembly. Of course, last but not least, folks, I'll tell you the truth about the Lollipop Guild in northern Hudson County. There seems to be an ongoing nuisance, grown men in their 80s and 90s collectively acting like children online and somehow thinking that people are paying attention to them. Well, I'll tell you why their latest antics are just an absolute joke. More on that during final thoughts. You definitely want to stick around for that, folks. You don't want to miss it. Yes, folks, it's election season, and one of the things that I take pride on this program is getting the exclusives that really nobody else gets you in Garden State media. And of course, when we talk about election 2025, sure, everyone's getting all excited about the gubernatorial race. All 80 state assembly seats are up for grabs this November. But folks, municipal races are just as important because, again, all politics is local. And here in Hudson County, we have some very interesting municipal races. Of course, right next door, next to me in Hoboken, but south of me, just as important, in Jersey City, we have a mayoral race, and all 9 council seats are up for grabs. And I'll tell you, folks, you might need almost a fold-out table to be able to read the ballot that's coming up this November. There's a lot of great candidates running for mayor, and there's a lot of great candidates running for the city council. Some are trying to get on the council for the first time, and some are incumbents. And why not talk to an incumbent that has an extraordinary track record in his own right? And you know what? He's a guy who I know is a fan of the show, and he's a fan of me, and I'm also a fan of him. Folks, he is the distinguished councilman at large in Jersey City. He's a big fan of the black and yellow out there in Steel Town and Steel City, his Pittsburgh Steelers, and of course, a big Yankee fan and a fellow Latino. Folks, let's welcome the Honorable Daniel Rivera to Real Talk. Councilman.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Councilman, and it's good to have you on here. And I don't know, man, the weather's getting warmer, and we'll talk about salsa Saturday nights in downtown in a little bit, because that's always a great time of year that I like to look forward to.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Councilman, again, we appreciate you coming on here. And listen, this election season in Jersey City is as fickle as I've ever seen in my adult life. As I mentioned, obviously the mayoral seat's up for grabs. All 9 council seats are up for grabs. And again, it looks like this ballot's going to look like almost like a scroll out of something of Game of Thrones coming up in November. But again, you're the sitting councilman at large in Jersey City, and you've been so since 2013. And obviously you have a great track record that we'll get to in a little bit. But for our audience that isn't familiar with, again, we know about wards and how those are broken down. But what exactly is a councilman at large do in Jersey City?
I mean, so we kind of like we do the legislation for the entire city. We cover the entire city, and we basically help out the other ward council people, making sure they have the support that they need. And like I said, we kind of like have the entire layout of the city of Jersey City, which is amazing.
Now, when we think about, again, obviously Jersey City is Hudson County's largest city. It's also its most diverse, without question. We have seen a lot of diversity in the last 10 to 20 years. Obviously, a big migration of Hispanics, Latinos, Latinas, really in the last half century into Hudson County, into Jersey City specifically. A very strong Puerto Rican population has remained pretty, consistent in Jersey City. And again, you are, one of the few elected Latino officials in the council, and also being Puerto Rican. So when you think about that legacy and that standing that you've had since 2013, when you first got elected under then Councilman Stephen Fulop's ticket, who, since he was the councilman in downtown Ward E at the time, tell us about, really, it's 12 years later. It seems like a lifetime ago, man.
It does seem like a lifetime, and politics is something that I was never engaged in or never involved in prior to me being elected the first time. But to go back to the Latinos and Latinas, scenario, that the question that you had, I mean, Jersey City was one of the has always been a very diverse city, predominantly in the early 80s, 90s, actually 70s, 80s, 90s, big time Puerto Rican ethnicity here in Jersey City. Actually, the area that I live in downtown was 87% Puerto Rican. And we've gone through changes of Jersey City, and a lot of the Puerto Rican community has moved on. But a lot of us are still here. Just not Puerto Ricans, a big Latino contingency is very, very, very in Jersey City.
Certainly. Folks, if you just joined us live right now, it takes 5 seconds. Trust me, I've actually counted. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode of Real Talk here on Jersey First TV. As my guest is Jersey City Councilman at large, Daniel Rivera, here on the show. Folks, drop some questions maybe or some comments there in the comment section. We'd love to hear from our audience, obviously, and we appreciate everyone that tunes in every Monday and continues to give us great traffic here on Jersey First TV. Now, Councilman, certainly the current mayor is running for governor. He chose not to run for another term. Certainly, once that decision was made by Stephen Fulop almost 2 years ago, it started the ball in motion, as they say, about, well, who's going to run for what or who's not going to run. And certainly, you have, again, you're an incumbent. You have a great track record, and we'll get to that in a minute in terms of your constituent services and really how attentive you've been as a councilman at large in Jersey City. But certainly once Stephen Fulop announced he was not running, yeah, we saw obviously former Governor McGreevey announce. We saw current Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day announce. Current councilman in Ward E, James Solomon. Current council president Joyce Waterman announced, as well as former Board of Ed president Musab Ali. Obviously, from what I heard, you are a very coveted person when it came to a council candidate on a ticket. And subsequently, you ended up running now with Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day. Take us back a little bit through what those conversations sounded like when it came to, well, first of all, if you wanted to run again, and then B, what were the conversations like with Bill O'Day? Because ultimately, that's who you decided to run with.
I mean, I met with quite a few. I met with Bill O'Day first, and I met with him about a year and a half ago. And he said, Danny, we really want you to be on this team. And at that time, I was really not thinking of coming back to politics. I'm at that age where sometimes I'm a strong believer that this is my third term. I'm a strong believer that the baton should be passed to another person that wants to get engaged into politics. I had met with Councilman Solomon, with former Governor McGreevey. We talked about, well, they talked to me about me being engaged in their ticket. One of the things that I kind of fell in love with Bill O'Day was the attention that he had for public safety and recreation. And that's kind of like one of the things that caught my attention with him. And I've been so involved with public safety and recreation here in Jersey City that it kind of like grabbed my attention. Spoke it over with my wife, and my wife said, "Hey, listen, it's totally up to you. Whatever you want to do, she has my back." So here I am again.
Well, it's interesting. Shout out to your lovely wife. I know I've met her before. Lovely woman, by the way. And pero como todo, right? Like, tú tienes que hablar con la esposa, because if you want to kind of make that big decision, right, Councilman, you got to talk it over with family, what's in your best interest. And certainly, again, you have a great track record. So a lot of people would say to me, hey, why wouldn't Danny run for another term? And I know sometimes during this election cycle, people talk about, well, ya está muy cansón y ya está ya muchos años. A lot of years already, but that's not the case. I mean, you have maintained a solid, following, not just in the downtown section, right, but throughout Jersey City. Mm-hmm. And I think obviously, it made the decision easy too, right?
Say it again.
Well, it certainly made the decision easy to run again because, again, you have a good following.
Yes, and I'm very engaged with not just the following that I have, but I'm very engaged with the community. So, and that's kind of like what makes me make that decision even better, right? Sometimes there were some people that said, Danny, you should run for mayor, right? So I remember bringing that conversation to my house, and my wife said, stop, like, that's it, So, I never thought about, doing that, but it was actually, humbling that people would actually say that, but yeah.
No, listen, I heard the same thing. I heard a lot of whispers saying, hey, mira, maybe Danny va a hacerlo. And I'm like, well, we'll find out soon enough. Obviously, let's get to the issues here, the bread and butter, as they say here. Certainly, Councilman, we could talk for hours and hours on end. And if you saw my interview with Bill O'Day a few weeks ago, Bill O'Day was very transparent about really the most pressing issues in Jersey City. And we'll start off with like the dreaded D word in Jersey City, and that's development. And it seems like, I've grown up in Hudson County my whole life. I live in northern Hudson County, but, I go into Jersey City a lot. I drive into Jersey City for different things, nightlife, whatever. And, I'm a little concerned, man, because when I'm driving through Journal Square, for example, I feel like I'm driving through Gotham City. I feel like I'm looking at Wayne Tower. I don't recognize Journal Square. I don't recognize downtown. I don't recognize the West Side. And I think a lot of residents that reach out to me say, hey, Fernando, I don't know, man, I'm a lifer here, but it's hard for me to stay here, man. It just seems like development is squeezing people out. And we'll get to rents in a moment. But I think one of the biggest concerns I think residents have in this election cycle is, hey, how much more I want to say advantage, or how much more of a say our developers going to have, because it seems like for the last 10 years or so, developers have had their way in Jersey City.
Well, I think what again, one of the reasons why I joined Belo Day is because I also felt I kind of like agreed a lot with his vision, right? And aligning with that vision, he speaks about a lot of affordable housing, some development, not that much development, but having development with structure that can help the community and help the constituents of the city. Like we're gonna dive into rents and stuff like that, more affordability for the constituents of Jersey City. And he was very rock solid on that vision. And I said to him, listen, you have a very good vision, for the city of Jersey City, and I'm looking forward to engage in it.
Without a doubt, obviously, again, development remains a concern, and it segues right into talking about rent. And obviously, we had a reval a few years back, obviously, and for property owners in Jersey City, it was kind of like a make or break situation where if you own certain properties, I mean, you had to sort of make a decision about whether or not you could remain in Jersey City, whether you owned a brownstone, a 2-family, a 3-family, whatever. It's getting to a point now, though, Councilman, that rents in not just downtown, but the Heights, the South Side, the West Side, even some of them. And again, I don't want to trigger anybody here on the show, or anybody watching. I know people get sensitive sometimes. Even some of the more undesirable parts of Jersey City to live in are getting developed, and those rents are skyrocketing as well. What are you hearing about, when you're knocking on doors, talking to people during this election cycle? Realistically, is there anything that can be done about rents in Jersey City?
I'm pretty sure that there is again, with creating a structure that's really not built on sinking sand, a structure that, can help out the constituents of the city of Jersey City, engage with them, and for us to hear them out. Like when you talk about us knocking on doors, yes, there's a lot of constituents that are concerned about rents. There's a lot of constituents that are concerned about development. A lot of constituents are concerned about parking. The traffic is right there on the top as well. But a lot of them are really concerned about safety, making sure that we have programs, and I'm sure we're going to dive into that as well. So the conversation when we're knocking on doors is very generic.
No, it certainly is. And folks, again, if you just joined us live, it's 6:18 here on the East Coast. It takes 5 seconds. Trust me. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode of Real Talk here with Jersey at-large Councilman, the Honorable Daniel Rivera. Join us here live on Jersey First TV. Obviously, we talk about rents and development. There's a dreaded P word out there, Councilman, and that's parking. Certainly, I visit Jersey City regularly. And I don't know, I kind of have like this grace from God about parking. I find parking very quickly anywhere in Jersey City, but not everyone is afforded that same luxury. And we know that whether you're going downtown to enjoy all the great restaurants in downtown or in the Heights, or if you're maybe looking to lease a new car and you're on the west side in 440, or you're looking to, again, go shopping on the west, on the south side, whatever. The point is that, parking has become such a premium. And it's also become almost like it's become very scary for a lot of residents who, again, if you don't live in a building, if you don't have a driveway, the reality of having to drive around your block or 2 or 3 for more than an hour is a concern, especially in some parts of Jersey City that I know that some residents, again, and we'll get to public safety in a moment, that maybe aren't the safest parts of the city either, sir.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And that accountability, we have to give some of that accountability to developers, right? Like I stated earlier, when we're aligning with Bill's vision, I'm sure that we're going to hold developers accountable so that they can have more, parking in their development. Yes, people are completely fed up, when they say there's no parking in the area. The traffic is abysmal. But the parking discussion is very concerning. I for one would have to kind of like go around my block 6, 7 times, just to find parking, and it's very tough. I can honestly tell you it's very tough.
No, it certainly is, and again, we just can't wave a magic wand here.
Right.
I think it's certainly an issue that the new council will have to take on, obviously, on January 1st upon taking office. Certainly, hopefully, you're one of those taking office in January. I like you. I certainly, I'm rooting for you, man.
Appreciate you.
I certainly, would like to see you get another term for sure. And I know people get a little fickle sometimes about journalists locally, like taking sides. It's not about taking sides. It's just about like looking at people that are in government that are doing the work, and you've been doing the work, man, since 2013. So it's hard for someone in front of me to be like, well, I don't know, Danny Rivera. I'm like, well, what about Danny Rivera? Like, he's been doing the work, and like, and Vago, like
Right.
he's rolled up his sleeves, he's cut his teeth here, and he's done the work. So I mean, if you're telling me that he's lazy, that's not Danny Rivera. So I would say that to anyone that's watching here tonight. Having said that, it transitions to the other P word that I know. When I talked to the top of the ticket, Commissioner O'Day, public safety is a big concern, man. I mean, obviously, we've seen in recent years that despite hiring more police officers, and again, I'll give credit to Mayor Stephen Fulop on that. I know that Public Safety Director Shea has taken some heat in recent years, and more on that later. But even despite hiring more police officers, despite the fact of certain measures being taken, I mean, there are still parts of Jersey City, Councilman, that are, as I said before, not very desirable, and residents show a concern for that. Realistically, what does this ticket represent when it comes to addressing public safety? Again, it's not a magic wand. It can't get fixed overnight. But what do you feel this ticket best represents when it comes to emphasizing public safety?
So one of the things that I wear when I'm out campaigning, right, I have a shirt that says "No Promises," right, and it's something that I think a lot of people that run for office make these types of promises. It's not easy, right? The public safety department. First of all, I think that we want to make sure that we go back to bring in a police department, right? And instead of a division of the public safety, right? So we will bring back the chief of the department of the police, chief of the department of fire, and having that type of engagement or that type of algorithm, I think will better service the community when it comes to public safety, to give the commanders of the district full control of their district so that they can do that community policing that is much needed in the city of Jersey City.
Councilman, I don't want to put you on the spot, but certainly in recent months, I know that Director Shea has been in the headlines so much as, I mean, it was sort of a symbolic, maybe a no vote of confidence for Director Shea. Obviously, I mean, it's, there's no procedure in place to remove him. Obviously, the only person that can do that is the mayor. He seems to be fine with Director Shea, but he's taken his lashings in recent years. And I know some members on the council have been very vocal about their disapproval of Director Shea. Again, as someone who works in education, is all about grades. Obviously he's been there for some years now. What grade would you want to give Director Shea today?
I mean, I'd listen. Shay is someone that I've actually grown fond of, in since we've been together. We're Marines, so we have a different, we're cut from a different cloth there. But listen, I would definitely give Director Shay a B. In the beginning of the when he first came into Jersey City, he was on point with a lot of stuff that he did, right? And like I said earlier, sometimes you kind of like have to pass the baton. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy, but sometimes people look at it and say, "Is there any more you can give?" And I think that the chiefs of the department are just waiting for them to get the reins back. I mean, listen, with that position as the director of public safety, you're not there to be liked, right? You're there to be effective.
Yeah.
And sometimes being effective will get people a little upset, but he you can do better in the position.
Okay. I think you'll like this analogy. You're a sports fan like myself, Councilman, so maybe you'll like this wording. Obviously, it's a big field. We know, obviously, it's five candidates running for mayor, and subsequently, all five candidates are going to have their slates. So, again, as I mentioned before, the ballot's going to look like a scroll out of something out of King Arthur's court, probably come this November. But in any event, anyone that concerns you, I mean, again, you're an incumbent, you're the sitting councilman at large. Obviously, there's only three at large seats. It almost feels like sports, and I feel like Stephen A. Smith here. Like, anyone concern you specifically from the other tickets that are running for at large seats along against you subsequently?
Well, to be honest with you, I said I don't look at it that way, Fernando. Listen, I actually commend people that want to get involved,
Yeah.
into this political atmosphere. It's a thankless job, right? So when you say, is there anybody that no, no, not at all. I mean, I think that everybody that's running has a focus and a vision for the city, right? And it's to make it better. And I welcome that, right? Am I a type of person that's going to be bashing people during campaigns or debate? That's not my style. Like I said, you may the best person win. In November, and I look at it as, if whoever wins, they're doing it to take Jersey City to the next level. Stephen Fulop has done amazing for the city, and he has put the city in a pedestal where now you just have to take the baton and just go to the next level, and make sure that the constituents of the city of Jersey City are okay. That's first and foremost.
Well, you mentioned the mayor obviously running for governor. You guys came in together in 2013. You were on his ticket when he was then, councilman in Ward E. A lot's changed in
Yes.
Jersey City. Jersey City has changed dramatically, not just, cosmetically, but also the perception of Jersey City. Very much like Director Shea, he's also got a lot of scrutiny on the city council, a lot of critics, even local journalists, right? Local news sites have been openly critical of the mayor. Certainly in his record. How do you want to grade Stephen Fulop? Again, having done 3 terms, chose not to run for a 4th one. He's completing his 3rd term now, again, as he's running for governor. When you look at Stephen Fulop, how do you want to grade and look at his legacy as mayor?
I mean, I won't hesitate, man. I'll give this guy an A. He's done a lot. What he said he was going to do for the city, he's done. He's one of the things that I love that he did was, when we came into office, our numbers for the police department, for the fire department, were very low, and he has really knocked that out the park. It's still at a low. We still have to increase the numbers in our departments. But I like what he has done. Again, to go back to, you're not here to be liked, and as a mayor, there's a lot of people that don't like that man, and I get it, but effectiveness is what you need to have to run the city. And I think he's been pretty much effective, in the city of Jersey City.
Folks, it's 6:24 here on the East Coast. Again, if you're just joining us live, we appreciate you making this a part of your Monday night viewing. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode. With me here live is Jersey City Councilman at Large, Daniel Rivera, our guest here tonight on Real Talk. Councilman, again, you're on a very diverse ticket. A lot of interesting running mates with you, running not just in the at-large seats, obviously, but in the wards. A lot of people keep telling me privately, hey, Bill's ticket is perhaps the most diverse one of anyone running. Bill's put a lot of work into this. Obviously people have done their homework here, to have, a very diverse ticket when it comes to background, when it comes to experience in government, in other sectors. Just a quick synopsis of your running mates, because again, it's a very interesting team.
My running mates are amazing, and one thing that I love about them is that they feel the heartbeat of the city, and that's important. I mean, I look forward to walking with them all the time. I engage with them so much, and actually they call me grandpa, and I guess it's because I'm the oldest one on the ticket, or the most experienced. But listen, this is a game of chess, Fernando, and you know that, and it in the middle of that game is the constituents of Jersey City, and we need to make sure that we win the game for them.
When we think about this ticket compared to others, and like you said, listen, you're going to run on your record, and that speaks for itself. I really like the high road you're taking here because sometimes, when it comes to municipal elections, it gets fickle, man. It gets tribal, it gets nasty, and we've seen to some extent, maybe at the top of the ticket, not so much like the council races per se, but at the top of the ticket, of course, we know that, and again, no disrespect to Council President Waterman and former Board of Education President Musa Bali. I mean, people are looking at this as a three-man race. Obviously, former Governor Jim McGreevey, County Commissioner Bill O'Day, and Councilman Solomon, really. And I think it's fair to say that come November, there isn't going to be a clear winner. I foresee a runoff. I would be very, very shocked about a clear, concise winner. Now, if there is, I mean, hey, to the winner go the spoils, as they say, right? But in any event, when we see, the top of the ticket, it's gotten fickle, man. It's gotten fickle between Jim McGreevey, Bill O'Day, and James Solomon. We've seen a lot of barbs being thrown. Listen, I'm a big WWE fan. It doesn't take much to get me excited about shooting promos and taking jabs at people. I do it for a living. Having said that, we haven't seen that, thankfully, in the council races. We've seen people say, hey, listen, I'm running for council in this ward, or I'm running for council at large. That has to be somewhat gratifying to you, right? That at least the council races have remained civil. Is that fair to say?
Yes. I mean, but it's early, Fernando. I mean, I to say that won't happen.
Sure.
I just know that, I guess I would have to wear an umbrella if those daggers start coming over here. But for me to engage in stuff like that, that's just not my style. I really wish that, or I hope that the other candidates from all the teams don't do that, but we have other candidates as well, that are running for mayor, that, might not be politically highlighted, right? But, we have a guy, who's another Latino, who's an amazing artist, and his name is Juan Cheese Vasquez. And he's like, he's very much engaged, in the community. I actually wanted him to, be part of our team, but he's like set in running for mayor. But I mean, yes, I think it'll happen, Fernando. I think those wars will start coming out, but I just hope that it doesn't get crazy.
No, listen, the last thing we want is to get very fickle and nasty because, again, municipal races can be that way. I mean, we're seeing it in Hoboken next door, right? Again, for the mayoral seats, not so much for the council races. It's kind of hard. I mean, I kind of look at the field as, hey, everyone's running for council seats, and to your point, I commend anyone wanting to run for public office. It's not an easy job. Public service, como se dice, eso nace en ti o tú no lo tienes. That's it. Like either you have it in you or you don't. It's as simple as that. Yes. But it's interesting because, when we think about council races and the at-large seats, to your point, you're looking at the issues that face all of Jersey City, not just a specific ward, but the constituents in every section of the city. And another dreaded P word that we have to talk about tonight is the dreaded property taxes. And as we know, property taxes in Jersey City continue to go up. We'll talk about the budget in a little bit at the municipal level. But I think like everything else, though, Councilman, you can't just wave a magic wand and fix this. I mean, property taxes has become almost an inevitable way of life for Jersey City residents. If you're looking to move into Jersey City, you want to buy a home or a condo, I mean, listen, you're buying for proximity, close to the proximity to New York City. You also want to be by the major roads, obviously in North Jersey. You want to get in and out of Jersey City. But again, when we think about property taxes, why is this ticket led by Bill O'Day the best choice when it comes to addressing property taxes?
I think that one of the things that we've talked about is, to most likely keep property taxes stable. Campaigning and knocking on doors, that's probably one of a lot of things that people complain about, They'll say my taxes are going up, 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 but I have no parking. My taxes are going up, 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 and there's all this traffic throughout the city. So I think like Bill O'Day's vision is to make sure that we keep property taxes stable. Do I think, because I've actually heard, candidates saying we're going to bring down, property taxes. And that's something that, I can never tell a constituent that property taxes are going down unless there is a structure in place that is, again, that is not built on sinking sand. They're very structural, hardcore concrete foundation so that we can tell constituents that, hey, listen, there's a plan to bring taxes down. But, it would be disingenuous of me if I tell you that we're going to bring taxes down. Do I think that we can keep taxes stable? Yes, we do have an increase right now, but I think that we can keep taxes stable.
Another topic that obviously was of a big concern to Bill O'Day when we talked a few weeks ago, and certainly I think to every mayoral candidate and every council candidate collectively, is recreation. Certainly, I think the need for a Department of Recreation. Listen, I think growing up for us, we knew how important recreation was. It kept us out of trouble. I mean, listen, we're guys, right? We still do stupid shit when we're young, right? As kids.
Right.
But as we're getting older and kids go through middle school into the high school years, I mean, having an active and productive recreation program, I think for any municipality is key in helping kids, again, stay on the right path, especially in an area like Jersey City that's very urban. There's the potential for trouble, etc. I know that Commissioner O'Day was very committed to doing something more about recreation. Where do you see it in your platform, and in the sense of, like, should you get reelected, hopefully come November, what would you like to address when it comes to recreation?
I actually would give a higher line item of funds, from our budget into recreation. There's programs that recreation can have for free, but really nothing is for free, because if you take it from one line item on the budget, something else is going to be seesawed, and something else is going to lose funding. And that's where we kind of have to dissect what we do with respect to that budget. And I think that increasing more funds for the Department of Recreation and increasing more programs for the Department of Recreation for our youth is good. But we also can't forget about our seniors, right? So increasing a line item for our seniors as well, so that they can have programs, is key. And that's one of the things that Bill O'Day said from the beginning, which he crushed it, where he said, we need to service, both youth and seniors so that we can make sure that they're okay.
Councilman, one of the things that really has helped Jersey City thrive, especially in the downtown section, and we know that, listen, for some years now, every July 4th, going to downtown Jersey City for the fireworks display to celebrate Independence Day, to celebrate the birthplace of America, our republic, right? I mean, again, I don't know about you, and I thank you for your service as a Marine, but you know me, man. I mean, there probably isn't a prouder American out there other than yourself, right. And I'm very emphatic about it.
Yes.
Jersey City has really done an exceptional job in recent years. And again, I'll give credit to Stephen Fulop on this. It's made downtown Jersey City an attractive destination during arguably the best day of the year. And that's celebrating this country's independence from the monarchy of King George, from food trucks to musical performances. It almost seems like a tsunami of humans.
Yes.
On the 4th of July in downtown Exchange Place. Getting there, you got to park blocks and blocks away. Albeit taking the light rail. I mean, it becomes like
$150 for light rail.
Even an Uber or a Lyft, caro. But in any event, that's become one of the most desirable things to do in Jersey City during the summer months, obviously the 4th of July. But one thing that really stands out for me, and that's every Saturday, and that's like, tu me hiciste brujeria. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's the salsa in downtown Jersey City. Tell us more about that, because I know you are a big vocal proponent of it, and you pretty much are almost like the founder of it, correct?
Well, Salsa on the Grove has been going on for about 18 years. Actually, this is our 20th year, right? And So I'll tell you the history of Salsa on the Grove. You know, Sky Tobacco, which is an amazing friend. His name is Gabriel Garcia, who's a musician. You know, a cigar aficionado. They came up with this concept of, you know, playing music in front of the cigar shop, and we would barricade the area and just take a couple of parking spaces and play music, right? So I told him when I got elected, I said, hey, why don't we just make this a little bigger? We can put like the stage in front of the cigar shop. And he said, let's do it. And we did that, and obviously now, you know, you see Salsa on the Grove, which we have five. It's May, June, July, August, and September. We have five of them. But I'm going to tell you the reason why I do Salsa on the Grove. Salsa on the Grove is just dedicated to those Latinos, those Puerto Ricans that used to live in downtown way back when, that used that same area right there on Bay and Grove Street, where the boliteros were out there, you know, getting their numbers, and after everything is done, they'll have this big party. They will close the street, you know, and when they would close the street, the cops didn't say anything, right? So they would just have a feast there and just have, you know, do this lechon asado, you know, and it would just be great. And I remember that as a kid. And then I said, wait, let's bring that back. We don't have the lechon asado because we have that,
Lose the
we
councilman
have
there.
our, you know, the storefronts there. But that is it. That is, I did that because honestly, you know, our tradition was being forgotten, right? And to bring that back, I mean, what I love about Salsa on the Grove, it's 90% of the people that come to Salsa on the Grove are Jersey City people, you know, and you have people that come, that 10%, that 5%, they actually fly out here from Florida, Puerto
Yeah,
Rico,
seen
Dominican
it.
Republic. They make it I've already have emails that said, hey, Dan, we're going to see you on the 23rd, on the 31st, you know, so.
Listen, I might get in trouble saying this out loud, but it's one of my favorite things to do during the summer months, and a lot of hot little mommies down in downtown Jersey City. So I can say that. I can
I'm
say
not
that.
co-signing that.
Listen, I'm the perpetual bachelor, so I can say that. So a lot of nice mommies to look at in the summer months in downtown for sure.
My wife goes, ten cuidado.
Oh, claro, no, eso sí es peligroso, ya tú sabes. Favorite salsa song though, Councilman?
You were singing it before, man. I have actually too. Tú me hiciste brujería
Okay, there you
and
go.
El Cantante, the
Oh,
original.
yes. I'm not surprised. Yes, great
Yes,
film. If you haven't seen it, folks, again, check it
yes,
out. Obviously with Mark Anthony, but great selections, obviously during the summer months for
yes.
sure. And even when it's like a little rainy, it doesn't matter. Eso no importa. La gente todavía va y van a
No, I mean,
compartir.
and we don't cancel them. We
Yeah,
know
no, that's right.
we sing in the rain, you know, and
Yeah,
I'm part of
no,
the group that
that's
plays, so
right.
we sing in the rain.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes, obviously, if I don't get to make it, getting into downtown's a little problematic, obviously, because a lot of streets are blocked off, but it's worth,
Yeah,
folks, if you haven't gone to Sauce on the Grove, I don't know what you're waiting for. It is worth every minute of
yeah,
your time during the summer. And obviously, it's good to see the councilman always there on stage, and he's very, very está con el ambiente, ya tú
that's right.
sabes. So, that's the Cuban in me right there. Okay. When I hear Sauce on the Grove, I'm
That's right.
very, very, I'm always excited about that. But Councilman, getting back to sort of like the platform here, obviously, it seems like November is still an eternity away. We've had people running for mayor for almost 2 years now. This Jersey City mayoral and council race, my God, bro, esto cansa. It seems like it's been going on almost forever. It reminds me of like some of like these recycled ex-girlfriends of mine. It just sigue. Oh my God. When's the light at the end of the tunnel? But obviously it's May. We know that right now in Hudson County, there's, because of no line, the assembly races are really almost front and center right now in Jersey City because of Jersey City being in two legislative districts. Obviously, LD 31 and LD 32. You have your own race to worry about, but have you felt any pressure at all to sort of maybe show your cards a little bit and maybe show some favoritism in any of the assembly candidates right now, or are you just going to sit this one out?
I'm actually gonna just pause on this one, and just see how the landscape turns out. you have great candidates, that are running. All of the candidates that are running, I know personally, and they're great candidates, right? Again, to take it out of the municipality level, now these guys are kind of like are being their candidates in the countywide level, and they also are running in the game so that they can feel the heartbeat of the entire county. And I mean, listen, I look forward to seeing. They've knocked on my doors already. I've taken their literature. I've shaken their hands. And they're like, Councilman, are you supporting me? And I tell them, I said, listen, I just want to see, how the ride is going to go. Usually roller coaster rides are like that, and, you know, all of them are great candidates. We just have to, just buckle up because that's the race that might get a little bananas.
Oh, listen, it's getting fickle already. Again, as a big WWE fan, I mean, esto está sucio. I mean, it's getting fickle. It's getting nasty. It's getting
Yes,
tribal,
yes,
without a doubt. And obviously, with less than 30 days to go until primary day,
yes.
it's certainly going to be, I think, right down to the wire. It is a municipal race, obviously in Jersey City. There's no county line anymore, obviously, and even though it's municipal and it's nonpartisan, for lack of a better word, I mean, really at the top of the ticket, it's five people that identify as Democrats, very different Democrats, obviously. And even that's reflected in some of the tickets. You have some progressive Democrats, some maybe woke Democrats, some middle of the road, center left Democrats. Do you think that's had an impact on this race in Jersey City where there isn't a county line? You obviously, when I mean you, I mean collectively, like everybody that's running has to kind of roll up their sleeves here, because before, I think the county line gave a little bit of a cushion to certain candidates for a long, long time. That's not the case anymore. Obviously, we've seen that in the assembly races and the impact it's having on that, and certainly also the gubernatorial race. But at the local level in Jersey City, do you find that to be maybe something of a new wrinkle where I get it, it's nonpartisan, it's not, Republicans or Democrats, but
Right.
at the end of the day, there's no county line, there's no county, the county Democrat Party isn't, well, I mean, there might be some candidates I think that are kind of perceived as maybe establishment people, but with no county line, it almost seems like everything's up for grabs, Councilman.
100%. And you have, like you said, you have to roll up your sleeve. You can't take any vote for granted, right? You have to roll up your sleeves, and you have to, again, not promise your constituency and kind of put this try to blindfold them and say, you're going to, do the world for them. I'm going to do this, do this. And then when you get to your seat, you do diddly squat. But you need to make sure that you roll up your sleeve, go and describe yourself on what you're going to do to make your candidacy, and once you get elected, you're the best representative for them, and that's the best thing that you can tell constituents. But yeah, in terms of it being wide open, 100%, you have to roll up the sleeve and do a very good sofrito. If you don't have a good sofrito, you're not going to be cooking.
Say, and I spoke to Bill today about this, and I also mentioned it to Governor McGreevey when they've been on the show this year in recent weeks. Again, Councilman, it's about local issues, and we live in a really tribal political climate. I make no bones about it. I'm a very proud conservative. You've seen that at council meetings when I'm rocking t-shirts, for God's sakes. But at the end of the day, I think that this is about the meat and potatoes issues. I mean, again, I see it on the show all the time. I mean, all the woke bullshit, all this bullshit about pronouns and all this nonsense. I don't care about this stuff. I think people at the end of the day care about the garbage getting picked up in Jersey City. People care about parking. I think people care about, hey, can there be some rent control? Can there be some sort of stability on property taxes? Can we hire more cops? Can we, again, can we maybe get more money from Trenton when it comes to the school budget in Jersey City? I think at the end of the day, that's what matters in these local races. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, you just nailed it. That when I knock on doors, people, that's what they say. Hey, what about parking? Hey, more cops on the street. We need more cops on the street. We need more walking beats. Can we have more firefighters? You guys keep on building the city of Jersey City. Can we get more firefighters? Can we get more firehouses open? And that's my passion. Once I get elected, is that I'm going to make sure that we highlight the men and women in both of these departments. Our OEM department, who's amazing. We need to make sure that our public safety department, police, fire, OEM, get what they need, and that's what they want. Constituencies are like, hey, there's a fire. I go to every fire in this city, every fire, second alarm, and at any time. I go to any homicides at any time. So I'm out there, making sure that we the concerns that the community has, so that we can prevent a lot of these things. So yeah.
Councilman, you're running for a fourth term. Obviously, you're looking at your legacy. What do you want to brag about when it comes to your term in office right now in terms of what you have done? Is it constituent services? Has it been working sort of bipartisan with maybe some council members that have been difficult to deal with? The budget. What do you want to brag about when it comes to your platform and your legacy as the councilman at large?
So one of the things that as a council person, I pride myself in engaging with all of my council colleagues. I've always done it. I've always been very neutral with them. Again, like I said earlier, it's not healthy to agree with everything that we do. One of the biggest I'm very happy, like I stated earlier, our public safety department, making sure that our city is safe, to me is huge. And it's a big priority. Making sure that we have more programs for both our youth and seniors is a big priority. And I'm happy that I've been involved in those things. I'm happy that I've been advocating, for the men and women in those areas. And that's what kind of like gives me that extra that extra bump in energy, so that I could have more say so for those constituents.
Sure. Council, before I let you go, you've been such a gentleman. You've been on for almost an hour. And again, time flies when you're having good conversations.
That's right.
And that's what we have here on Real Talk. Councilman, quick lightning round, because we've talked to Daniel Rivera, the Marine, the councilman, the dad, but let's talk to Daniel Rivera, the regular guy. So a quick lightning round here of who Daniel Rivera is. And we'll start with some simple stuff, because I know it's stuff that we like to talk about often. But let's talk some sports here. Favorite MLB team?
Die-hard New York Yankee fan.
Same here. Favorite Yankee?
Right now?
Well, I mean, all time.
Thurman Munson.
Okay. I actually have a Thurman Munson jersey, as a matter of fact. Yep, I have a Thurman Munson. Yeah. Captain, obviously, tragic, obviously, back in 1979. But a hell of a ball player, and a guy that epitomized the Yankee resurgence in the late 70s. That won back-to-back championships and went to 3 straight World Series. So great stuff with Thurman Munson. And we all know the NFL, black and yellow.
That's all I bleed. My whole family, even my grandkids.
Okay. Now it begs the question. I mean, obviously you live locally. It's easy to be a Yankee fan. What prompted the fandom for the Steelers?
So my dad was a Jet fan, right? So there was always competition in the house. He goes, whatever I like, I don't want you guys to like, right? So Franco Harris. I saw this guy run, and I try to, copycat the way he ran when I played football at Ferris. And back then, Stanley Wade, who was a linebacker that played for Nebraska, he hit me so hard that he knocked me into the middle of next week. And I said, well, I can't play like Franco Harris. I might as well like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I've always loved that team, and all of my children have Pittsburgh Steelers tattoos.
Okay.
It's the thing to do in the Rivera household.
Okay.
But that's me. This is Danny Rivera.
Sure, absolutely. And listen, you know me, I'm a proud fan of America's team. And, this past season, a really good Sunday night game with the Cowboys and Steelers, that it was like a tsunami of rain and thunder. And that was an interesting game, right? To say the least.
It was.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Obviously, last week, a big trade between both franchises, which is kind of odd. You never really see a trade between both franchises. But sure enough, George Pickens becomes a Cowboy.
Yeah.
Steelers got some draft picks in return. What did you think of that trade when you saw it?
I was popping aspirins like they were Tic Tacs so that my blood pressure doesn't go high or my blood doesn't, coagulate. So I didn't understand the trade, but I guess, they were saying that, George Pickens was a headache. He was a pain in the ass, but I mean, it's George Pickens, right? And we got DJ Metcalf, so we figure, okay, we don't have anybody to throw it to them, but now we have no quarterback. We don't have George Pickens, so now I'm popping more aspirin.
Well, we have to say, I mean, when we look about consistency, stability, and character and dignity, I mean, we talk about someone like Mike Tomlin, and we know the Steelers organization really doesn't go through coaches. Like Leonardo DiCaprio goes through girlfriends, right? I mean, they are a stable franchise, and it's crazy when I mean, listen, I'm sure you listen to sports talk radio, you watch the sports shows like I do, First Take, Fox Sports, whatever. It's mind-boggling to me when we hear chatter about, maybe we should move on from Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has been one of the best X's and O's coaches, I would argue, for the last 2 decades in the NFL. So, if he got fired tomorrow, he would get hired in the next 30 seconds after,
And players want to play for him from all over the place, and that's what's great about it.
And he's never had he's never had a losing season.
Correct.
So it's crazy. And even though they've changed, now it's an odd number amount of games, regardless, Mike Tomlin's been consistent for that franchise. We'll see what happens in 2025 for both our teams, because the Cowboys aren't going anywhere. Dak Prescott's terrible. We'll see. NBA.
Big Knick fan, and my daughter's a big Boston Celtic fan.
So. Tonight's a big war of words, I think, in the Rivera house. So we'll see.
I'm getting texts already. Get ready.
Listen, the Knicks, they don't win this game tonight. It's done. We go back to Boston. It looks like the Celtics are kind of, they're the reigning defending world champions for a reason. Yes. So we'll find out later tonight. Are you a hockey fan, Councilman?
So no. I mean, listen. Before I went to college, I worked for a courier company, DHL, and when the Devils won the Stanley Cup, I held up the Stanley Cup. So I was a Devils fan for a long time. I think I still am, right? But when I went to the first Devils game, I didn't realize that I had to wear a sweater. We had great front row seats, and I had a T-shirt with no under tee on it. So you can imagine how that went. I was freezing my cojones off. And so the Devils.
Listen, big Devil fan as well. I got to tell you, when it comes to just for the dollar value, going to watch hockey live at Prudential is very affordable compared to the NFL, the NBA, MLB. I mean, listen, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. Love the Cowboys when they play the Giants here. It's like a home game for us. Love going to the Garden when my Lakers play the Knicks, but it's just, it's just unaffordable. But hockey remains a really good form of affordable entertainment for sure. Not sure if you're into this, but I got to ask anyway, Marvel or DC Comics type of guy in movies?
Ooh, DC Comics.
Okay. Which favorite DC comic character?
Spider-Man. Marvel. I'm sorry. Marvel. Spider-Man.
Marvel. Okay, Marvel. Okay, so Spider-Man. Okay, interesting. I'm with you on that. I'm a big Marvel guy. My favorite guy is Iron Man, Tony Stark. I've always liked the character.
Yes.
I gotta say though, the evolution of Spider-Man in the last 20 years. Because think about this: back in 2002, when Tobey Maguire first started as Spider-Man. I mean, we're talking about, and now 23 years later, we've had 3 different Spider-Men. Very different characters.
Yes.
I really like Tom Holland in this incarnation. Very interesting what they're going to do in the next Avengers lead up, right, with this Spider-Man, without a doubt. Favorite Marvel movie? I mean, obviously you like Spider-Man, but is there a favorite Marvel movie that isn't Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Okay, cool. I got to say, Marvel, since Endgame, it struggled a little bit with some of the shows. I do like Falcon Winter Soldier. I'm looking forward, obviously, to The next Avengers movie coming up next year with Doctor Doom. I mean, think
Yeah.
of it, bro.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. That's
Yes.
crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting. Fantastic Four this summer. Even Captain America movie this year I thought was solid. I think it's a good segue moving away from Steve Rogers into Sam Wilson. I think Marvel's been doing it great for, I mean, let's be honest, since 2006 when
That's right.
Iron Man debuted. I mean, that's when the MCU
right.
started. It's 20 years. It's crazy that we're approaching 20 years here. Councilman, favorite cuisine and restaurant? I hate to put you on the spot with that one.
Favorite cuisine? White rice, white beans, and fried chicken.
Okay.
Big Latino dish. I'm a big sushi fanatic, but that's my go-to dish.
Interesting.
Tell you when I first got married, my wife asked me, "What's your favorite food?" Right, and I told her it was white rice, white beans, and fried chicken. So my wife, I just came out of the Marine Corps, so my wife started to cook that, right? And I remember she's gonna kill me with this, right? But I remember she called me from the dining room, from the living room to the dining room. She goes, "Babe, the dinner is served," and I'm looking at her like struggle to take the rice out of the spoon, and I said, "Babe, what is that?" She goes, "It's white rice, white beans, fried chicken." I said, "That's plaster. If I eat that, I'm going to be constipated for like 3 weeks."
That's fantastic. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my baby. We've been married. This year's going to be 36 years.
Oye, felicidades to you and your wife. My parents just celebrated 52 years. So, I mean,
Wow.
felicidades to you guys. God bless you both. I hate to put you on the spot with this one, but I mean, obviously, we know you love salsa on the Grove. But aside from salsa, any other favorite music genres?
Oh man, I love everything. You know, I'm a big club music. I'm a big merengue, fanatic. I
Sure.
can't dance for diddly squat, right? But
Okay.
I just love the music. I play the instrument, and just I'm a big rhythm person, So
Okay.
and I credit that to my mom, who is an amazing singer dancer, and my aunts who are amazing singer dancers. So I got him. I have the music ear, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I love all the genres, man. Everything.
Councilman,
Everything.
listen, same here, but I think you'll appreciate this answer from me because we're about in the same age demographic. I am as big a freestyle fan as there is. I grew up on freestyle. Okay,
Yeah.
I grew up on Judy Torres.
Yes.
Cover girls, pajama parties, George Lamont, Stevie B.
Woo.
I love freestyle, and
Yeah.
whenever I can catch it, it's in my Pandora. It's in my playlist. I mean, I listen to it all the time at home. I grew up on it. Obviously for me, as I enter a new decade this Saturday night, I enter a new decade.
Who are you?
I'll be 50 on Saturday. That's right.
Wow. Well, I'm much older than you. How old are you?
Really?
Yeah, I'll be 59.
No, oye, tú luces like 41, bro. Te lo digo, en serio. Tú luces like 41, bro, en serio. But last but not least, favorite American president?
Oh, man, I served under Ronald Reagan, man. Love that guy.
Same here. I'm a big Reagan fan as well. Councilman, you've been great. Certainly, I appreciate your time. I'll give you the last word. Any handles, websites, social media stuff you want to plug here? I'll give you the last word here tonight on Real Talk.
Fernando Uribe, top of the line interview. I really do appreciate the interview. I'm a big. Sometimes I have a phobia with interviews and debates and all of that. But I want to thank you for making me feel very comfortable here. Really, really, really do appreciate it. And I want more people to tune into you. Make sure we tune into Salsa on the Grove, May 31st. It's going to be going bananas there.
Councilman, I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you. I've had an enormous amount of respect for you. Again, not just serving our country, but serving the community. I mean, you've been a guy, again, you rolled up the sleeves. Como se dice, tú una persona que, we know what you mean, and you say what you mean what you say, and you've been as transparent as any public official I've ever talked to. And I really appreciate that. And again, I want to wish you the best of luck. Obviously, it's a tough campaign season. And we'll talk to you again soon here on Real Talk. By the way, happy Father's Day coming up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Happy Father's Day. And I'll see you with Sauce on the Grove coming up this summer. Obviously, you said May 31st, right? It's the first night?
May 31st is the first night.
Okay, well, folks, he is Jersey City Councilman at Large, Daniel Rivera, running on the Bill O'Day ticket. For more information, is it Bill O'Day websites real quick?
Bill O'Day and JC, Bill O'Day JC.
Okay, all right. Again, folks, make sure you follow them on Twitter, Instagram. Check it out on their website. If you're looking to volunteer or donate, you can do so to the Bill O'Day campaign. Obviously, headlined by Councilman at Large, my guest tonight, Daniel Rivera. Folks, again, it's always a privilege to talk to him. Councilman, God bless you, man. Thank you so much for believing in Real Talk, and we'll talk to you again soon here in election 2025.
God bless you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Folks, good stuff there with Councilman Daniel Rivera. And again, folks, these are exclusives that I bring you every single week here on this show because, again, some journalists talk about getting exclusives and scoops and whatever. Folks, it's always real traffic here because it's Real Talk here with Jersey First TV. And once again, I want to thank the councilman for his time here this evening. It's always a great conversation to talk about really what's going on in Jersey City. And folks, it is pivotal a race in Hudson County's largest city as I can ever remember in my adult life. Obviously, Stephen Fulop not running for another term, he choosing to run for governor. Obviously, a very diverse field of people running for mayor, and certainly a diverse field of people running for all 9 council seats in November, coming up on November the 4th. Folks, again, you can register to vote. Certainly, it's a nonpartisan race. Each platform, as I mentioned earlier, certainly Council President Joyce Waterman has her platform. Former Board of Ed President Musa Ali has his platform. Former Governor Jim McGreevey has his. County Commissioner Bill O'Day has his platform. And certainly Councilman in Ward E, James Solomon, has his as well. So, folks, you have choices certainly coming up on November the 4th, but that's still an eternity away here in 2025. And we'll continue talking about these issues, folks. And I'll continue talking to candidates, not just running for mayor, but obviously in council seats throughout the rest of 2025. You don't want to miss that, folks. Again, it's exclusives that you won't see anywhere else but here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Folks, it's a little after 7 o'clock here on the East Coast. Again, if you're tuning in live, it takes a few seconds. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode here on Jersey First TV. And folks, always remember that, again, we're always happy to talk about the issues that matter on this program, issues that matter to you, folks. Again, and I'm the only, forget about me being a conservative, folks. I'm the only common sense journalist out there that talks about the issues that matter to everyday New Jerseyans and everyday Hudson County residents and everyday Jersey City residents. Folks, it's not about the woke bullshit. It's not about pronouns and identitarian politics. I don't give a shit about that stuff. That's nonsense. Okay, that doesn't get your garbage picked up. It doesn't keep the streets cleaned. It doesn't, address property taxes or parking or public safety. These are the issues, as I said before, that everyday residents care about. And I'll continue talking about them here on Jersey First TV. Folks, don't go anywhere. It's time for final thoughts. And folks, I got a jam-packed final thoughts here because this election cycle has just made me as inquisitive as anyone. Okay. But let's start with sort of one of the more guilty parties about dishonest journalism in New Jersey, and that's Uncle Dave, David Cruz. And by the way, mira, felicidad a David Cruz, working like 3 days last week. I mean, I got to give it credit to this lazy bastard. We never, ever see this lazy bastard work as hard as I've seen him during this election cycle. And of course, later on tonight, folks, the Democrats will have their debate with NJ Spotlight News as the Republicans did last week. And of course, breaking news this evening, just obviously getting the notifications here. President Trump has endorsed former Assemblyman and 2021 gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciarelli tonight. I think that might change the landscape coming up on June the 10th in the Republican primary later on tonight. The Democrat candidates will be debating on NJ Spotlight News. But what was interesting about the debate last week that Uncle Dave And the guy from WNYC radio, I forgot what his name was, but that's not important. The point was, and of course, Uncle Dave can't help himself when it comes to pandering to illegal immigrants, pandering to all the virtue signaling that, again, as we've come to know, is the staple of NJ Spotlight News. And let's go to this clip here last week as they start talking about illegal immigration. You can just tell that Uncle Dave is like seething at the mouth. He's like foaming, salivating at the mouth. I mean, pretty much like when he's at the food court at the Gateway Center, of course. But he was salivating at the mouth to sort of sound very, preachy and condescending and, sort of coming at the candidates with a sort of level of moral superiority, which is what Uncle Dave lives on when it comes to defending illegals. And no, Dave, they're not undocumented. Okay. If you're here illegally, David, you're an illegal. Stop comiendo mierda with the virtue signaling and the semantics. I know you live for that, like the rest of the left does and the rest of the liberal media does in New Jersey. But for people that care about everyday issues, talk about them honestly, David. I know it's a struggle for you. But let's go to this clip here, and you can just tell the tone in which and I'm sure we'll see a very different tone tonight when he host the Democrat debate on NJ Spotlight News. But let's go to this clip here, and you could see just the anger in his voice. It's almost like when he sees the food court is closed at the Gateway Center, but more on that later.
But there is no soundbite, in my judgment, that will allow a Republican to win a general election in New Jersey. I think those kind of soundbites hurt our chances of winning.
Jack?
We certainly want to continue.
Bill Spade, the last time we talked, I asked you if you would support deporting every person in the state without authorization, undocumented or illegals, as you
without
referred to
authorization.
them. But you added that U.S. immigration policy should be humane and reasonable. You supported the Lake and Riley Act, which it's a federal.
Which, by the way, anyone of any common sense should also too, David. Okay, David, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, we should want to get rid of criminal illegals. Why David struggles with that is beyond me, but more on that later.
Law which would allow, for example, a minor accused of stealing a candy bar to be deported, even if he's a DACA kid or he has an ICE hearing pending the next day.
Such a bullshit example, but leave it to Uncle Dave to come up with bullshit examples because of his bullshit journalism, but more on that later.
How is that humane and reasonable?
We need to get to a zero tolerance for criminal aliens.
Including that example.
I stand with President Trump. President
Including
Trump
that
has
example
said,
of
you can always, David, find a one-off example. And
my
thought is,
example?
and again, as I have said repeatedly, that we've got to stand with President Trump. There are 900,000 illegals here. You have the pendulum has swung. The pendulum has swung so far to the left, and.
Yeah, it has swung to the left, David, because people like you live to coddle illegals. You will continue to have awful human beings on your show, whether it's Chatbox or Reporters Roundtable. You'll have the most garbage humans on your program. Take your pick. Amy Torres from the New Jersey Alliance of Immigrant Justice, Patty Campos Medina from Latina Civic PAC, okay, and other virtue signalers. I can't even name them all. But you continue to give oxygen to this issue because you won't call it. Again, for someone that loves baseball as much as I do, you can't call balls and strikes fairly. You just can't. And that's the problem. That's what makes Uncle Dave insufferable, especially when it comes to this issue, because we know the impact that illegals have had on our communities. We have seen the criminality that illegals engage in. More on that later. But let's continue with this.
And the sad part about that is then everybody gets hurt. And I will say this, there's clearly a difference between a DACA kid, as President Trump has said. So I don't know about your exact example, because I heard the President of the United States just a month ago say that we support the Dreamers staying in America.
But that's not what the law says.
But that's what the president said, and I supported the law just like I support suspending bail reform. You could find a one-off example of bail reform that some poor kid that couldn't afford the $300, and I say, well, that's too bad because the pendulum swung too far in the other direction. We now have to bring it back. So I will follow the lead of what Tom Homan and the president have set out, and yes, we'll use the state police and the National Guard if necessary to deport criminal aliens.
So there is no middle ground here?
There's always a middle ground. That's why we have judges. That's why we have hearings. There's always a middle ground.
How about you, Senator?
Well, let me tell you, nobody should be deported unless there's a hearing, and here's why. Let's assume there's
Let me ask you this before you go there.
Yeah.
Does the state have any role in ensuring that? For instance, due process?
Probably not. You can speak up, but let's talk about.
David, immigration is a federal issue. Yeah, there is due process. It's called immigration court. And folks, it's amazing to me when I hear David Cruz talk. Like, I get it. He's like, his mid-80s. Ya la mente de David Cruz ya está ya. Let's be honest. Ya la mente de David Cruz ya se ha hecho mierda. Let's be very fair about what David Cruz is. But again, it's like you're looking for excuses to coddle illegals in the state, David. Like, you live for this. It's kind of embarrassing, but let's continue.
David Cruz. Let's assume David Cruz is this so-called criminal, right?
Well, I mean, what he does to journalism is pretty criminal when you think about it. I mean, it's, talk about a disservice. The disservice he does to journalism is effing criminal, if you ask me. But that's obviously, we wouldn't deport David Cruz. I mean, what would he do, at an ICE camp? I mean, obviously the food court wouldn't be open there, but, let's continue.
Right? Well, what if you have the wrong David Cruz? We in America, we don't believe that somebody should have an opportunity to be heard. How's this? All of a sudden, the Republicans believe whatever government says is right. So government says David Cruz is a bad guy, put him on.
Well, he is a bad guy. I mean, just because of the shitty job he does with journalism. I mean, I'm sure he's a good human being. I mean, I'm sure he's a good dad and grandfather, whatever. But he's a shitty human being when it comes to journalism. But I mean,
On a plane, hey, wait a minute now. You're not going to give David Cruz a hearing? All of a sudden, whatever the government says.
Yeah, make sure you feed him. If you take him to a hearing, make sure you feed him. Might have a panic attack.
They are the
He
jury.
says, if the president says it, then it's right.
Well, my point is this.
I'm paraphrasing.
Americans, okay,
That's all right.
people say to me, they go, I'm a citizen, I'm not worried about it. Yeah, if you have an opportunity to prove you're a citizen, right?
But if you're a citizen, you can also be deported.
Well, what I'm saying is bad guys, they should be deported. There are people that have.
David, there's no citizens being deported. What we're seeing with Aldrich Garcia or jihadists on college campuses, like, these aren't citizens. These are green card holders. In the Garcia case, he's an illegal who already had a deportation order going back to 2019. So no citizens are getting deported, David. Okay? I'd like to see you deported. I wouldn't mind seeing you get deported. But there's no American citizens getting deported, David. Deja la histeria. Deja ya tan exagerado que tú eres. Yeah, bro. Like, you're worse than some of the women I've dated. My God. Like, the hysteria, bro. Like, this is what makes David Cruz insufferable, folks. Okay? But more on that later.
Have to be deported. And not only that, I'm not getting in front of ICE, but I'll tell you this. Everyone deserves a hearing to make sure at least you got the right guy.
Yeah.
John, why do you get due process on the way out if you didn't use due process on the way in?
Why? Because
you broke the law.
Welcome to America. Wait a minute. So you're
don't
going
have
to
a right
decide.
to
Wait a
break
minute. So
into this
you're telling me that just because the government says that's a bad guy, all of a sudden you believe whatever government says.
No,
I think that's what you said.
That is,
You're a big
I
fan.
support the president.
Hey, I'm a fan of government.
Again, folks, let's be honest. That's not what Bill Spadia said. But again, leave it to David Cruz to, get a perpetual erection about standing up for illegals or at any turn. But more on that later.
You trust government?
Joe Biden
you
let
trust
7
government.
million people in over our border, many of whom with ties to terrorism. And
not a word from David Cruz in 4 years of Joe Biden. Not that he was awake, but not a word from David Cruz about the exponential harm that illegals did to our communities, killing Americans, coming over the border, pregnant in some cases, having their kids here. Now we're stuck having to feed them. We're stuck having to take them into our schools, school overcrowding, using public resources for citizens. Never once did David Cruz ever blow a load in his pants. Not that anyone ever wants to visualize that, but never once did David Cruz object to that, right? But ahora that Donald Trump wants to actually enforce the border and preserve our sovereignty, now David Cruz wants to like ejaculate all over himself about it. It's folks, the level of how disingenuous he is frightening, if not downright sickening. But more on that later.
Cartels.
I don't
They're
argue
being
that.
hidden in
I don't argue
Edison
that.
and
I don't argue
Patterson
that. That's
and
not my
Newark,
point.
and we're going to work with
That's
Tom
not the
Homan.
point.
And no, David,
You
there shouldn't
believe
be a
whatever
hearing
government
for
says.
MS-13 gang members. You came across the border
But should
illegally.
there be a
We're going to
hearing
round you up. We're going to throw you out.
determine
If you got
they're
the
an
right guy.
MS-13 gang member?
When
Let me
did
get
America
Jack Chitterelli
by
in
the
here.
exception? That has been our problem
You
all
say
along.
you're a small businessman.
Watch this.
What do you think the impact would be of deporting, whether it's 500,000, as the Pew Center suggests, or 900,000, as many Republicans suggest, undocumented individuals? What would be the economic impact, do you think, on small business, hospitals, groceries, hospitality?
It would be significant. By the way, what you did say
How
is
do
that
you
you were
avoid
liberal
that?
on this
How do
issue
you
and you want to
avoid
give
that,
amnesty,
though?
a pathway to citizenship.
But folks, this is what's interesting about David Cruz. From January 2009 to January of 2017, folks, here are facts, because David Cruz struggles with facts, okay? I mean, besides nutritional facts, but he struggles with facts in general. And this is what bothers me about David Cruz, because Barack Obama, okay, the 44th president, deported more people than anyone in the last quarter century. He deported more people in the 8 years he was president than the 16 years of Bill Clinton and George W. Bush combined. Did the economy fall apart, David? Did just jobs fall? Like, did jobs disappear? Did the economy collapse at all, David? Because Barack Obama was deporting illegals at a record rate? Of course not. But this is the reason that David Cruz does you a disservice. Because instead of telling you the truth, he wants to lie to you. He wants con el tiki-tiki. He wants the sob story, because all David Cruz lives for, all right, besides the food court at the Gateway Center, is coddling illegals. That's all he lives for. David Cruz isn't capable of having an intellectually honest conversation because he can't have it, because the facts are there. Okay. And when sleepy Joe Biden had the border wide open, we had millions and millions of illegals coming across the border, in many instances, criminal illegals, dangerous illegals, not a word from David Cruz. His mouth was closed, which is funny, because his mouth is never closed. Let's be honest. If you know David Cruz, when is his mouth ever closed? Right. But that's the level of just like dishonesty that we see at NJ Spotlight News. Right. Watch this.
To people who are
You
illegally.
mean the out of context lie that you put out on Fox News? Are you kidding me?
It's amazing how it's
you
always
kidding
out
me?
of context, even when it's on video and you're the one saying
Are
it.
you going to answer the question?
Yes.
Yes.
I've
Please
said
do.
from the very beginning, no sanctuary cities, no sanctuary state that only
Exactly.
encourages illegal immigration.
What is
I
the
support
economic
the president on his
impact?
deportation.
David, again, the economic impact is no different than what happened from 2009 to 2017. Like, please tell me exactly, like, did you have this objection to the economy or the impact of the economy when it came to Barack Obama deporting a record number of illegals? Again, folks, you never saw David Cruz bitch and moan. Again, folks, David Cruz lives to bitch and he bitches to live. And this is what makes him insufferable. Because at least if he came into the conversation from an honest place, that'd be cool. I wouldn't object to David Cruz. The problem is that David Cruz is blatantly dishonest. Because has this selective moral outrage cuando le conviene. Cuando le conviene, he wants to be, oh my God, and undocumented people and everything else. But you know what? When it came to Barack Obama, right? Not a word from David Cruz, not a peep. But guess what? Supermarkets were still full. Food shelves were still full. Clearly, you can look at David Cruz. He didn't miss any meals, clearly, during the Barack Obama years, even to the present. So what exactly are we talking about, David, when it comes to economic impact? Please tell us.
It's
100%
100% plan. But, you know, the president was recently interviewed. It was on NBC News with Kristen Walker. And when she asked this very same question when it came to everybody else, not people who had committed a crime in their own homeland need to be deported, people committed a crime here, she said, what about everybody else? He said, difficult. It is difficult.
What's the economic impact?
Significant.
And how do you avoid that, what could be catastrophic?
David, was it catastrophic from 2009 to 2017? No. And the same outcome will occur now in 2025 up until 2028. But again, folks, I think you get the picture here about David Cruz and about how blatantly dishonest he is when it comes to talking about immigration. If he came into the conversation in good faith, I would give him a pass. But for years, Uncle Dave comes at this in bad faith and just with blatant dishonesty. The idea that New Jersey is a sanctuary state, folks, this election cycle is perhaps the most pivotal one in New Jersey gubernatorial history. Because what we have seen is New Jersey as a sanctuary state giving driver licenses to illegals, taking taxpayer dollars in the budget and allocating it into a legal fund to help illegals fight deportation. Folks, your tax dollars are paying attorneys to help illegals fight deportation. You think once David Cruz would object to that? Of course not. That will require David Cruz, cuídate, to have that pesky 4-syllable word that we all know David Cruz struggles with. He struggles with a lot of words, but the one he struggles with the most, you know what it is? Integrity. He doesn't have any. And especially when it comes to illegal immigration, folks, he's happy to coddle the worst people in this argument. Because like David Cruz, the American left have lost the argument when it comes, when it comes to talking about coddling illegals and coddling criminality. You don't believe me? I'm the only journalist that stands up for Jewish people in New Jersey media. You think David Cruz stands up for Jewish people? Not once. Folks, you can look at the tape. You can look it up. Not once. He's happy to sort of gloss over the fact that jihadists have taken over our college campuses, or that we're seeing sitting members of the House of Representatives like McIver shoving federal agents as clear as day and with body cam footage now available. Now, again, I haven't watched tonight's debate for the Democrats, but I would hope that David Cruz would talk about this. Hey, because David Cruz, again, had this perpetual erection in his pants about January 6th and January 6th. Okay, bro, come with that same energy about Monica McIver blatantly assaulting a federal agent. Okay? And listen, I mean, when you look at Monica McIver, I mean, she just breathes on someone that's almost assaulting them when you think about it. Okay? So let's be fair about not portraying Monica McIver as his angel. I'm sure David Cruz will, or David Cruz will gloss over that. Right? We'll see. Okay? But like the rest of the liberal media in New Jersey and even nationally, what we're seeing is this coddling of criminality. We saw it just today. Right? Standing outside an ICE facility, trying to block the entrance because somehow this is the hill that the American left wants to die on. Standing up for rapists, in some cases pedophiles, terrorists, gang members, all these people being housed in ICE facilities. Folks, this is who the American left wants to die on a hill for, right? Standing up for illegals and rapists, and in some cases, murderers or wife beaters, like the guy from Maryland, right? No, the illegal living in Maryland, not the family guy living in Maryland, the illegal that was living in Maryland. Okay? This is who the American left wants to die. And isn't it interesting how the American left loves to die on a hill for like the worst people? But that's who Uncle Dave, along with others in the establishment media in New Jersey, love to coddle. They live to coddle criminality. They do. There's no way around it. That's not me hypothesizing, folks. The video's there. The transcripts are there. Right? Whether it's coddling illegals or coddling jihadists on our college campuses. Folks, take your pick last week when students at Columbia University across the river are looking to study for final exams. And folks, for all of you that took final exams, you know how stressful it is. I remember during undergrad and I remember in grad school. May is an awful time of year when you're studying for finals, when you're basically drinking coffee at all hours, when you're trying to not sleep because you have to study. And guess what? Imagine being at a library, whether it's at Columbia or anywhere else, and you see jihadists disturbing your study. This is who the American left, again, loves to coddle. These are the type of vile human beings that Uncle Dave has no problem applauding for or coddling or saying, hey, well, they're not so bad. Folks, again, I don't want to just pick on David Cruz because it's easy. But David Cruz, again, is just a small sample size of how blatantly dishonest the establishment media is. And that's why the establishment media is losing viewers. That's why regular, everyday New Jerseyans are relying on independent media, like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Because here on this show, we're not going to lie to you. We're going to tell you the truth, regardless of how painful it is. You think David Cruz would do it? You think David Cruz would talk about the ridiculous amount of jihadists, whether it's outside Columbia University or even still ongoing? You see what I'm saying, folks? The American left and the establishment media live to coddle criminals and illegals. You saw it on full display last week with Uncle Dave at the Republican gubernatorial primary debate. I'm pretty sure later on tonight he'll do the same thing. As we all know, obviously, Newark Mayor Ross Baraka was arrested last Friday for impeding federal agents. And of course, we saw members of the House of Representatives like Monica McIver assaulting federal agents. Let's see if Uncle Dave comes with that same level of outrage that he does when he talks to Republicans. Spoiler alert, he won't. Because again, that will require Uncle Dave to have that pesky four-syllable word that we all know he doesn't have. Integrity. Now, let's face it, for as long as we've known Uncle Dave, he's not going to have it anytime soon. It's a shame, dude. You were once a great journalist, and now you just become a propagandist. Folks know the difference. And that's why nobody trusts NJ Spotlight News, like the rest of the establishment media here in New Jersey. Speaking about dishonest, folks, let's talk about, obviously, and you can see there, obviously, folks, that's a wide camera range there. I can only imagine. Listen, shout out to the support staff there at NJ Spotlight News, having a chair that can even sustain Uncle Dave. My God, that chair's working overtime, to say the least. Speaking about dishonest, let's talk about Ravi Bala and why he's an atrocious choice in the 32nd Legislative District. And I've been talking about this for weeks, folks, but we're less than 30 days until primary day, which is June 10th. And if you haven't registered to vote, you still have time. And you have options in the 32nd Legislative District coming up on June 10th. It starts with Krista Fonseca, a woman who I have enormous amount of respect for. And yesterday we celebrated Mother's Day. That was a painful day for Crystal. Let me tell you, that's a woman who you got to give props to. her life story, her situation is to be commended. And it's not for clicks. It's not for pity or a pity party. No, folks, it's to raise awareness for potential would-be moms. And I'll continue to pray for Crystal and her husband. But that's a great option on June 10th. Okay. You also have Jessica Ramirez, the current assemblywoman in the 32nd Legislative District. And there are things I don't like about Jessica Ramirez's voting record or some of the positions she takes, but she's done the work. Right? A Latina assemblywoman doing work in that area of Hudson County. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember someone did that once too. Oh, yeah, that's right. Her name was Annette Chaparro. And she was the assemblywoman out of Hoboken, again, before redistricting. And again, just like Jessica Ramirez, there are positions that Annette Chaparro took that I vehemently disagree with. Whether it's believing that illegals should get driver's licenses or other positions she's taken when it comes to taxes. But Annette Chaparro was a hardworking public servant, went to Trenton and did the work. And how did Ravi Bala reward her for her hard work? The progressive Ravi Bala? Yes, Ravi Bala kicked her to the curb. Ravi Bala is so progressive, he decided to replace a Latina with his white chief of staff, John Allen. Yeah, really progressive, Ravi. Can someone explain to me how anyone in the 32nd Legislative District thinks that Ravi Bala is a good idea? Can someone explain that to me, please? What's progressive about Ravi Bala? What's progressive? What, raising taxes? Oh, yeah. Oh, he's good at that. Oh, he's really good at that. He's been really, really good at that. Ravi Bala's been really good at raising taxes. Right? So much so that, again, when we think about Ravi Bala's record, let's keep looking at it. Okay? As Hoboken continues to flood, because again, the priorities in Hoboken have been messed up since January of 2018 when Ravi Bala took office. After Don Zimmer chose not to run again. And good riddance to Don Zimmer. She sucked too as a mayor. She was awful. But Ravi Bala picked up right where Don Zimmer left off. As property taxes have gone up 16% in Hoboken since he's been mayor. Is that progressive? Is that helping out working people, Ravi? Right? Is that looking out for the little people? Is that looking out as a progressive for people? Right? Is that looking out for black and brown people in Hoboken that you're pricing out because you've let developers run wild in Hoboken? And for those that have chosen to stay in Hoboken, yeah, paying 16% more in property taxes. Tell me exactly how that's progressive, Ravi. Tell me exactly, Katie Brennan, Ravi's running mate, how that's progressive. Tell me who is advising Katie Brennan and thought it was a good idea that she should run with a useless virtue signaler like Ravi Bala. Now, again, Katie Brennan's her own brand of useless virtue signaler in her own right. But Ravi Bala is a special type of useless because Ravi Bala has run on this mantra that somehow he's for people. He's everything but that. Okay? Whether it's being an outraged Karen, having meltdowns because he missed a flight to the DNC last year in Chicago, and he was having a hissy fit and a meltdown. Folks, I have ex-girlfriends that didn't bitch and moan as much as Ravi Bala. And I've had some insufferable ex-girlfriends. I mean, I've had some real winners that bitch and moan with the best of them. But Ravi Bala's right up there. So whether it's virtue signaling about woke bullshit in Hoboken, because folks in Hoboken under Ravi Bala's leadership, it's been more about pronouns than property taxes or public safety. Because as people are being assaulted in broad daylight in Hoboken, no, Ravi Bala wants to make sure that, drag queens and mentally ill people, trans people, men playing dress up and make believe can read to your kids during drag queen story time at the Hoboken Public Library. Or instead of hiring more police officers, repainting the crosswalks during Pride Month. Because again, we got to make sure we coddle the alphabet mob. Can't have, you can't upset them. Folks, Ravi Bala is a joke. Ravi Bala has been a joke since he won office in 2017. He's been a joke since taking office in 2018. And now, for some reason, the voters in the 32nd Legislative District somehow think that he's a viable choice. He's not, folks. Ravi Bala has been a disaster. Ravi Bala has been an absolute joke for the city of Hoboken, for its constituents, for its homeowners, for its renters, you name it. There's nothing redeeming about Ravi Bala, folks. There just isn't. And this isn't me taking shots at public officials. No. Folks, because unlike those in the establishment media, here on Real Talk, I give you facts. Every single thing I just said about Ravi Bala is correct. Now, Ravi Bala and Katie Brennan might say otherwise, and they don't have the spine to come on this program, even though I've asked, because, they want to make sure they cater to their progressive audience. All the woke fools locally that somehow think men can get pregnant, or that there's more than two genders, or that somehow we have to, somehow coddle mentally ill people in their delusions. Trans people. That's who Ravi Bala is, folks. A progressive who kicked off a Latina off the assembly seat. A guy who clearly doesn't care about black and brown people when he's raising property taxes 16% in Hoboken. Who cares more about pronouns than public safety? Is that the progressive that everyone shoots a load in their pants about? Is that the progressive that progressives in the 32nd legislature just go like they blow a load in their pants all over themselves? Really? Is that the progressive that you're all like ejaculating over? Folks, let's be honest. There's nothing progressive about Ravi Bala. He's perhaps the most regressive candidate I've ever seen running for the state assembly. Folks, you have choices coming up on June 10th. Ravi Bala isn't one of them. And lastly, folks, I want to address the Lollipop Guild in Hudson County, in northern Hudson County. We all know who they are, 5 of the most useless human beings walking the face of the earth. And take your pick in no particular order. Leonard Filipowski, a wannabe journalist. Joe Blaitler, a 90-something-year-old man still bitching and moaning that he wasn't promoted back in 2012. Who somehow thinks he's qualified to run a political campaign. Or illiterates like Ernie Rivera Batiz, who, when you look at his social media, let's be honest, if anyone needs the spell check function on Facebook or anywhere else, it's Ernie Rivera Batiz. Again, the typical illiterate who, let's be fair, the only A's he ever saw in his report card were in his name. Okay? Because God knows he never saw A's anywhere else. Jose Garrido Jr., who cries poverty and cries his usual sob story. Hey, Jose, maybe if you stop buying replica championship belts, maybe you wouldn't be running out of money, you stupid bastard. But again, we're asking Jose Garrido to exhibit any level of intellect, and we know he doesn't have any. But last but not least, let's talk about John Bender. And folks, what's funny about John Bender is, that picture you see behind me there, that's his profile picture. Can someone tell John Bender it's not 1971 anymore? Oh, I get it, because when we think about John Bender in the present day, that's and again, and the reason I take these shots is because these are the same idiots that poke fun at people's appearance. So again, if you want to dish it out, you have to be able to take it. So if you want to chirp, cool. Be prepared when people chirp back. And for John Bender to make any comments about myself or others is rich when John Bender looks like this. When John Bender, who, by the way, folks, this past Friday in Newark Municipal Court, Check out John Bender there. Folks, that guy looks about as wrinkled as my softball glove. That's pretty worn out too. But can someone explain to me how John Bender, who is the director of security for North Bergen Public Schools, right? That's his job, right? And I get it, good for John. He's like 91 years old, right? You look at him, he's that decrepit looking. But somehow, John Bender, you would think would be acting in his capacity as director of security. What's he doing in Newark Municipal Court on a Friday morning? There to show support for Leonard Filipowski? Why? I thought that Leonard Filipowski had nothing to do with the Township of North Bergen. Does anyone else find that strange? Really? And again, for a guy like John Bender, who loves to poke fun at people online, as you can see him there sitting in court, waiting to see what happens with Leonard Filipowski's case. And folks, he's another one, let's be fair. I've yet to hear the conclusive evidence about what happened on Friday. But when Leonard Filipowski claims victory on anything, you have to take that with a grain of salt. Okay? That guy's about as believable as David Cruz, Max Pizarro, Jay Lasser, Alan Steinberg, and the rest of the garbage liberal media in New Jersey. They're not believable. So when Leonard Filipowski wants to, have a party in his pants about whatever legal victory he scored last week, well, we'll see. Okay. But front and center right there, as you can see, John Bender. I mean, did John forget to put his teeth in his mouth? I mean, John, did you leave the house without your teeth? I mean, I'm curious. Folks, it's rich for someone like John Bender, who takes plenty of pot shots at people online about their appearance. When you look like this, if I look like that, I wouldn't leave the house. And I get it. You're 91 years old. You want to get fresh air? Cool. Get fresh air. Go do your job as a director of security in the North Bergen Public Schools. But why are you in Newark sitting in a courtroom cheering on or maybe showing more support for Leonard Filipowski? I thought nobody in North Bergen government is supporting Leonard Filipowski. I thought nobody in North Bergen government, is showing support or endorsing Leonard Filipowski. Really? And for someone that, again, likes to talk about others not doing their jobs, folks, if you're the director of security for North Bergen Public Schools, what are you doing in Newark Municipal Court? You should be doing your job in North Bergen. Kind of makes you wonder about John Bender. Again, John, don't forget, next time you go out in public, put your teeth in. You can't be going out in public without your teeth. That's not a good look. Okay? Just to let you know. So people are not doing their job. It reminds me, because when I think of John Bender, I think about other useless aspects of North Bergen government. I think about, of course, I think about what goes on in North Bergen. And it reminded me about, last week during a rainstorm. Well, when it rains, it doesn't make sense to send out DPW and street sweeping. Why? Mother Nature is cleaning our streets naturally. Oh, that's right. It's the Township of North Bergen. They're never going to miss an opportunity to try to take any dollar from you they possibly can. So why not send out the street sweeper and the parking authority in North Bergen to issue summonses in the middle of a rainstorm? Don't believe me?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can someone explain to me why, as Mother Nature is naturally cleaning our streets, the Township of North Bergen feels the need to send their street sweeper and to issue ridiculous summonses in the form of fines for not moving your car? Because, of course, the device that's being used to clean the streets is certainly much more efficient than Mother Nature herself. Like rain. But leave it to the Township of North Bergen to, of course, issue tickets and summonses because, hey, let's squeeze as much money as we can out of people on a daily basis. But, of course, that seems to remind us all about the priorities of course, the Township of North Bergen. Yes, as there are multiple, streets that are not paved, as there are multiple streets that, need cleaning, these are the priorities of the Township of North Bergen. Yes, in the middle of the rainstorm, why not send out the street sweepers? Because, of course, you know, hey, these are your tax dollars hard at work in the Township of North Bergen. Gotta love it, folks, huh? Wow. All right.
Yeah, folks, you know, again, you can see it right there. Your tax dollars in North Bergen hard at work as John Bender, all 91 years old of him, sits in municipal court on a Friday when he should be, I guess, being the director of security for public schools in North Bergen. Seems like useless policy and useless people are running rampant in North Bergen. Well, I think nobody exemplifies that better than good old Johnny here, John Bender. Yes, folks, all 91 years of him, you know. And, but remember, North Bergen isn't supporting or endorsing or showing support at all for Leonard Verabowski. Sure. All right, John. Yeah, we believe that one. Yep. Yeah, we believe that as much as, I don't know, maybe, you know, Leonard Verabowski winning a Grammy. Yeah, HUDPost told us the truth about that as well. So, yep, shout out to hardworking people in North Bergen government. It starts with this useless human being, John Bender. And those are my final thoughts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for tonight. Once again, I want to thank Jersey City Councilman at Large, Danny Rivera. I want to thank him for his service as a Marine, and certainly I want to thank him for his public service in the city of Jersey City as he's going for an unprecedented fourth term in the city council in one of the 3 at-large seats in Jersey City. Folks, again, like, comment, and share tonight's episode. If you haven't done so already, we appreciate you tuning in here. Of course, check us out on all of our social media. Make sure you like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram and X. And if you subscribe to us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button, and you'll be automatically notified of all the great content brought to you by Jersey First TV. Of course, whether you listen to our podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take it with you anywhere at any time. Folks, I cannot say enough about the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It's Jersey First TV. Brand new episodes of the Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday, hosted by the outstanding Elizabeth Nader. And of course, brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe premiere every Monday night as well. Check your local listings, of course, folks, for start times. And again, we appreciate all of your support every single week here on the Jersey First Television Network. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's Real Talk here on the Jersey First Television Network. I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, folks, because my level of honesty, now more than ever, is truly necessary, because I'm the hero you need right now in New Jersey journalism. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Have a great rest of your week, folks. Please party responsibly. And I'll see you next Monday night live for the latest edition of Real Talk right here with Jersey First TV. Folks, take care of yourselves. And always remember, stay classy, everyone.